Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim coming back with an unbelievable episode of Shiurim by the Sea. Today, we are going to talk about the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, the enemy inside of us that does not sleep, that does not slumber, and tries 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 364 days of the year. We'll get to that. To try to destroy us. Not only that, once it has, conquered us in something, it then goes right up to Shemayim to prosecute us. That's how evil and despicable the evil inclination is. This might be the most important lecture that you're ever going to listen to. And I know that you've heard me say this before, but I want to tell you why I can say these things with such confidence. And people that know me know I don't lie, I don't, exaggerate or whatever. There's a few professions in the world where you cannot make a mistake, right? No one wants a pilot with a 99.6% success rate. Nobody wants a brain surgeon with a 94.2% success rate. I make lectures. I put my heart and soul into every lecture. Thank God I have just amazing sponsors, and this allows me to spend as much time as I want putting the lecture together. I never come to a lecture and it's like, all right, I'm not really sure about this one. Maybe it'll work out. No. I come in thinking this is going to blow the world away. God willing, Hashem will give me because if you read my notes, they're very brief. Like if I just read my notes, it'd be like a 4-minute lecture. And the lectures are like an hour, usually 20, 30, 40 minutes. So divine help is certainly in play. But I don't know who's watching the lecture. It could be someone that's just at the point of, they're fed up with Torah observance and they want to dip out. And then they watch this lecture and it just continues that. That's life-changing. That's a life-saving lecture. It could be someone that's just totally floundering in the world. They're searching for something. They have no idea what they're doing in the world. They come across this lecture and they're like, okay, that was interesting. They watch a few more and then boom, life changes forever. So I go into every lecture basically thinking that a life could be saved. A life could be changed. I see the comments. This is what Malka Rus left me in the morning. I now upload my lectures from America every night so that people in Israel, when they wake up, they will have a fresh lecture. I'm trying to do one a day. This is only possible because people are sponsoring and I just, spending all my time just trying to figure out lectures for people. And it's having an effect. Baruch Hashem. This is what Malka Rus left me in the morning. I left a comment on your share from today. I'm going to have to invest in a toupee company because all my toupees are blown off up to Shemayim because of your lectures. I joke around that this lecture is like a toupee blowing off lecture. So this is what Malka Rus commented. This is very interesting, okay? Because Malka Rus is a convert, okay? This is what she said. I spent 10 or more hours a day for 3 months researching if I should only follow Hashem or keep my belief in Jesus. Yamak Shema. At the end of my searching, I found a loving but firm God. I immediately found a synagogue to start learning about my Father in heaven and his Torah. I converted conservative, but I wasn't fulfilled because of their lack of observance. So I sold my house, gave all my contents away, contacted Nefesh B'Nefesh, and started the process of making Aliyah. I moved to Israel, did my Orthodox conversion, and I never looked back. Your shiurim motivate me to continue to learn and not waste time. Bless you, Eliakim, for your hard but encouraging words. May we all see the importance of ridding Amalek now. That's why I can safely say that every lecture I do, I can say it's going to be the most important lecture I ever watch. Because I see the comments. I see people's lives that are changed. I see people like Lisa, who sponsored this lecture, in memory of her Aunt Ethel. We'll get to that in a second. Who started keeping Shabbos because of these lectures. A good friend in Norfolk now started keeping Shabbos because of these lectures. My friend Lou, his observance now and, from when he really started listening to the lectures, night and day. He just messaged me yesterday, I need to slow down with my lectures. I'm doing too many. It's hard for him to catch up. Because of one of my lectures, he started also learning Mesilas Yesharim, and he's also bogged down in that. So, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem for this. For the amazing people like Lisa. She sponsored. This is the 32nd lecture that I've done for 32nd lecture that I've done for Lisa. She's sponsored, 33rd. She sponsored 35, right? So, I mean, my whole life now is just playing catch up for Lisa's lectures. Bro, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. It allows me to just find the most mind-blowing stuff so that people will understand, just as a cup was made for a specific purpose, it has a specific design, it has a certain size. This cup was made for a larger, drink, maybe like a beer at a barbecue. It's really dumb and sad and ignorant to go through life thinking that Hashem created you with 190 trillion connections in the brain and multi-million connections in the eye and, a tongue and such unique intelligence that separates us from every other creation in the world. And all that's expected of you is just to go to college, to find a job, to retire, and spend your nights watching Netflix. That is such a sad and tragic way to go through life. And why do so many people think that this is acceptable? Because of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is the most bitter enemy in the world inside of all of us, and it's fighting to destroy you every single second. Okay, who did Lisa sponsor this for? Her beloved Aunt Ethel. She says, I wish they knew how her and her Uncle Harry met, just at a lecture for Uncle Harry. I mean, I know all of Lisa's family. I know more about Lisa's family than I do about, some of my family, because, and my parents laugh, because like every day it's just more lectures. And they're like, it's just, they're so proud that someone has such like love and confidence in their son that someone is just sponsoring lecture after lecture. And if people knew Lisa sends a dollar amount, what she's getting in return is infinitely greater. I mean, imagine like giving somebody a penny and they just keep giving you $1 billion. You would just keep giving them penny after penny because it's like a no-brainer. Well, Lisa understands this. Some of my other sponsors understand this. I mean, this is just how life works. Hashem made a cheat code. He wants Torah being learned and spread. And he rewards the one giving the lecture, learning the Torah, just as much as the one sponsoring. Every rabbi will tell you this. It is the Zvulun Yisachar partnership, the famous Zvulun Yisachar partnership. She said that my Aunt Ethel used to drive across the border from Toronto to New York to go clothes shopping. They were very fashionable. They had a clothes store. They wore very little clothing under big coats so that they could buy lots of new clothes in New York to cover themselves with a huge coat. She said one time they were stopped at the border and a Toronto policeman asked them to open their coats. And my daddy's sisters were all very petite and the coats were huge. And she said they had very little underneath the coats and the policeman laughed out. And this was very touching. She said, my father cried out for her. Lisa was taking care of her father at the end, and her father would always cry out for her, for his sister Ethel. And my sisters, obviously other than my son, probably my closest, so I can understand that relationship. Okay. Yetzer Hara. On my wall, we've done just unbelievable lectures on Amalek and the Erev Rav. Right? You have to go back and watch those. They were from last, I believe, Thursday and Friday they were uploaded. I'm actually giving this lecture now on Thursday, right before Tisha B'Av. And I'm doing this one specifically to upload the day after Tisha B'Av, meaning the 10th of Av, for a reason. Tisha B'Av is the culmination of the 9 days. Right? It's the 9 days. It's why I can't shave. It's why there's all these different laws. Can't eat meat, can't drink wine, anything that brings us joy. Can't listen to music, all these different things. It's a mourning period, right? Then the 10th of Av comes. Actually, the mourning period is not lifted until half day, till Chatzos. Really? Half day. Basically, wherever you are in the world, it's like between 12 and 2 in the afternoon. Why? Because the temple was burning really up until the 10th of Av. But after that, it's the 7 weeks of consolation until Rosh Hashanah. So the first Haftorah after Tisha B'Av, it's called Nachamu Nachamu from Isaiah. Nachmu, nachmu. Consolation, consolation. Nachmu, nachmu actually is the gematria of Yitzchak, which is, maybe I'll do a whole share on that at some point. But, it's very heavy times. I mean, so many tragic things have happened in the Jewish, world during these 9 days, but specifically on Tisha B'Av. I mean, both temples were destroyed on the same day. It's no accident. Tisha B'Av ends, and we're like ascending up until Rosh Hashanah. You have the last few weeks of Av, then you have Elul, right? Elul, what's Rosh Tevos? Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, right? Elul. It's the time when Hashem is in the fields, and we're just supposed to start saying, you know what? I've wasted 11 months. All the things, I'm going to get when the Gentile world, January 1st comes. Oh, I'm going to get a gym membership. Yeah, I'm going to be in the gym every day. By January 17th, you're 10 pounds heavier, eating Cheetos, you got orange hands, and your head's in an ice cream tub. So, what is that for the Jews? It's called the Yetzer Hara. So, Rosh Hashanah came, you promised Hashem all these neato things this year. Hashem, no more Lashon Hara, no more whatever, increase tzedakah, Torah learning, to the heavens, yay! Then the 9 days comes, and you're like, oh my gosh, Rosh Hashanah's, Rosh Hashanah's what, 2 months away now? Oh no. Let me get my checklist out that I made didn't do that, sorely lacking in that, literally did the opposite of that. Nachamu. It's not too late. You can salvage the whole year. This lecture will help you. I'm going to give you the secret to life here. Everyone's so concerned for the IDF and the battles that we're facing outside, and rightfully so. You've got a war waging inside of you every second of every day. There is a relentless enemy inside of you called the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Like in the cartoons, there's that good angel, oh, Jerry, do this. And then the evil, no, Jerry, Tom's right around the... That's reality. We have a Yetzer Tov and a Yetzer Hara. We have a good inclination and an evil inclination. Your good inclination tells you, you see an old lady struggling with a cart, getting up onto the bus. You just jump down, you help her up. That's your good inclination. You have an evil inclination. She should have thought about that before she, smoked 8 packs of cigarettes a day. And that's the evil inclination. It's a lifelong battle. I keep telling people life is a seesaw, What exactly is the evil inclination? And specifically, we are going to talk about one unbelievable snippet of a Gemara to frame this entire lecture, okay? There's always something that I lead with to sort of, it's like the crux, the fulcrum of the lecture, okay? So this is very fascinating. The Navi Zechariah foresaw a great morning in the future, as it states, on that day there will be a great eulogy in Yerushalayim. Okay, this is Zechariah 12:11. What's the eulogy for? Who died? Obviously, if there's a eulogy and there's a lot of mourning, someone must have died. Who died? A famous Gemara and the Talmud in Sukkot 52a says, "And the time to come," meaning like days of Mashiach type stuff, "the Holy One, blessed be He, will bring the Yetzer Hara and slaughter him before the righteous and before the wicked. To the righteous, it will appear like a high mountain, and to the wicked, it will appear like a thread of hair. Both will cry. The righteous will cry and say, 'How were we able to overcome this high mountain?' The evil will also cry and say, 'How were we not able to overcome this little, insignificant thread of hair?'" Isn't this mind-blowing? You'd think it would be the reverse, right? You'd think the righteous would see this little thread of hair that they worked their whole life to overcome, and it would be proof that I was stronger than you. No. you're going to see like a Mount Everest on steroids. You're going to see like, Y2K, whatever it's called, Kilimanjaro and Everest stacked on top of each other. And the wicked are going to see this little nothing, this little thread. And they're going to cry, how are we not able to overcome this? You could think about this one little snippet of a Gemara for the rest of your life and think you've understood it, and then you realize, well, am I really getting this? The Yetzer Hara is going to be slaughtered. The evil inclination is going to be slaughtered. Why is this important? Because once this happens, there will never, ever be a chance to earn merit again. Right? Basically, Hashem's going to reveal himself. Your evil inclination is going to be gone. You will never then get the reward again for overcoming your evil inclination. Every day that you're fighting and battling your evil inclination, you're getting reward. I'll tell you a story about myself from yesterday that I just thought of, actually. The righteous are going to look at this insurmountable mountain, and they're going to cry, tears of joy. How in the world was I able to overcome this mountain? And the wicked are going to look at this thread, and they're going to cry eternal tears of shame that they weren't able to overcome this. So I'll tell you something that happened to me yesterday before I get into the lecture. I love to walk. I love to walk and listen to Torah lectures. That's, when people sponsor a Torah lecture, they're not just getting the credit for the hour. And, yesterday's lecture, I think, was an hour and 57 minutes or 55 minutes, something like that. So that's almost 120,000 mitzvahs, according to the Chafetz Chaim. It also takes hours to put it together. And then, anything that I've listened to before or read before, you're also getting the credit for that. So getting just like dozens of hours of mitzvahs for just one sponsor. I mean, when you sponsor a kollel in Israel, you're getting every single drop of Torah that they're learning. I mean, that's just how easy it is. So, both my parents were out yesterday, so I really wanted to walk. So I said to my son, let's take a walk on this bike. And, but it's going to be hot. I said, no, come on. I said, I bet you can't, a little reverse psychology. I said, yesterday we walked 4.6 miles. I bet you can't beat that today. You tell a kid, you bet you can't beat something. You can get anything you want. Just a little, fun fact there. So we walked and we did 5.6 miles, right? So we came home. I knew that I was going to be able to go out after that, like within 20 minutes, to continue my walk because someone would be able to be home and watch him. But it was also like 2:30, so I could already daven mincha. So I'm like getting ready to daven mincha. I'm in my walking clothes that, it's the 9 days. We can't launder. You can't launder clothes on the 9 days. So I'm wearing the same walking clothes. So obviously they smell terrible. But my laziness, I didn't want to go up, shower, get dressed, daven, then go back up, put on the same clothes again. So I just said, you know what? Whatever. Starting to think about davening. And then I'm scrolling on Facebook and I see this bizarre thing that just happened. A young Orthodox couple was kicked off, I think, an American Airlines flight because people kept saying, oh, they smell. Like, the anti-Semitic, ultra-Orthodox, they all smell, they're all disgusting, they're all, like sewer rats. So I read this and I'm like, what a bizarre thing. And just as I'm about to start davening, I think, why did Hashem make it so that I'm seeing this right now? You can live your life like Amalek, which is just everything is random. Amalek happened upon us, Amalek is Gematria 240, Safek, meaning doubt. I said, why would I see specifically stuff about smelling Orthodox Jews now, as I'm literally like 10 seconds away from davening in my walking shorts and shirt, and is this the way that I would meet a king? Like, if a king came to town, he's like, Eliakim, I'd love for you to come dine with me. Would I come in this disgusting? So I said, Hashem, thank you so much. I get the message. Went up, showered, changed, davened. What was going through my mind when I said, okay, to go upstairs, shower, what did it take me? Like 45 seconds extra? What was the Yetzer Hara saying? Does Hashem's got more important things to do than Eliakim's sent, right? No. That was the Yetzer Hara trying just a little, I got him. I know that he's very particular about his appearance. I like going out in suits but I got him. I can get him to daven in just a very subpar fashion. And then I saw this thing and I said, oh, Yetzer Hara, you almost got me, you little scoundrel. What's this a life lesson for? For a few things. One, when you start having that talk to yourself, where you start rationalizing stuff, you've already lost, right? You're already on the losing end. It's the equivalent of watching Mike Tyson just starting to pummel someone. What do you have to do at that point? I literally, I knew that I should have showered. I knew that I should have changed clothes. I mean, unequivocally. You do not daven in front of the King of Kings, the one that created you, looking like I did yesterday. But I was also concerned about timing. And so as I'm sitting there thinking, okay, maybe this one time I was having a conversation with my Yetzer Hara. And thankfully, I also had the foresight when I saw this ridiculous thing on Facebook that was just, it's such an anti-Semitic thing. People could do that to me. I shower 6, 7, 8 times a day. Not because I'm OCD. I take cold showers too. I love just getting in a cold shower, just getting out. And I saw that and I thought, what are the odds that as I'm contemplating and arguing with myself and my Yetzer Hara about davening in front of Hashem, smelling very terrible and looking very horrible, that I would see something it's just like a bolt of lightning. So I said, okay, I'm going to go up, shower, it came down. And I said, you know what? That might make a good thing for a lecture. So I was already the first seat. And then as I'm, walking another 2 hours yesterday, I listened to something. I said, okay, I'm going to do a lecture on the Yetzer Hara. So that's how this all started. And I'm just telling you a little snippet of something that happened to me yesterday, which is a clear-cut demonstration of what the Yetzer Hara does. Tells you, Hashem doesn't care. He's got more important, he's got the war in Russia going on and in Israel. All these things. Hashem doesn't care if you shower or not. I'm thinking, just one time, who cares? And no, Hashem cares every time. Hashem is standing right in front of you when you daven. You want him to look at you just, dripping sweat and smelling terrible? No. The Yetzer Hara was trying. The Yetzer Hara knew, I can't destroy him right now. He's busy doing stuff. He's going to be taking a Torah walk. But I've got a minute before he davens. I'll just put this thought in his head. Who cares what you look like? You're going back out anyway. Hashem just is so happy that you're davening and you're going to take a 2-hour Torah walk. Just daven how you want. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. When you least expect it. When you have 10, 15 seconds of spare time. That's when the Yetzer Hara pounces. What's the Yetzer Hara? It's your mortal enemy. Everyone was born with a sidekick and a mortal enemy. All of us were born as Jews with a Yetzer Tov, a guiding hand. What do my Yetzer Tov do? My Yetzer Tov, as I'm saying, who cares? I see this thing about this Orthodox couple. It involves smell and Chul Hashem and all these different things. And I said, you know what? Time to listen to the Yetzer Tov. That's the seesaw. And I know that this example is very simple, but this is where it starts. Because what would have happened if I just davened like this yesterday? Well, I would daven like that every day. I did it once, I'll do it again. Right? When Adam was asked by Hashem, why did you eat the fruit? The Midrash says that subtly in the words that Adam said, Adam really said, yeah, Hashem, I did it. And I'll do it again. That's why the punishment was so severe. Adam didn't say, one time thing, I'm so sorry, I'm wrong, I'll do tshuva. Adam he hinted to, it's a very famous Midrash, that I did it and I'll do it again. So why would this have been important? Because all the Yetzer Hara needs to do one time is just knock you off your perch And then it's a seed in your head that this is now acceptable behavior, basically. So even those things, a very simple, I'm trying to frame it in the context of this lecture. What happened to me yesterday was a very clear-cut battle between the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov on something that, yes, wasn't such a big deal, but it could have ended up being a big deal. And I talked to myself. I literally, not like a crazy person talk. I'm thinking like, why in the world would right now, like be'emsa, I'm in the middle of just thinking about scent and smell and how I look and whatever, that I see this exact thing that's basically telling me, no, go up and shower. It's 30 seconds. Overcome your Yetzer Hara. Fight the good fight. And that's what I did. I was very happy. I said, okay, time to rock and roll with the lecture. Okay? Who is the Yetzer Hara? What's the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara, Rabbi Yoshe ben Levi taught, the evil inclination has 7 names. The Holy One, blessed be he, called it evil. For the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Moshe called it uncircumcised, as it said, and circumcise the foreskin of your hearts. David called it impure, as it stated, create for me a pure heart, O God. King Solomon, Shlomo, called it an enemy, as it stated, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord will reward you. Isaiah called it a stumbling block, as it stated, and he will say, cast you up, clear the way, take up the stumbling block out of the way of the people. Ezekiel called it a stone, as it stated, and I will take away the stony heart out of the flesh. And Yoel called it the hidden one, as it says, but I will remove the northern one, Hatzphoni, far off from you. These are 7 allusions from our prophets and kings about the Yetzer Hara. And Hashem himself called it evil. It is the Yetzer Hara. Ra means evil. The evil inclination. Yetzer Hara. Inclination is Yetzer. Okay? That's who the Yetzer Hara is. Every single comment about the Yetzer Hara is evil. What's the only benefit of the Yetzer Hara? The reward you get for overcoming it. That's it. I mean, the Yetzer Hara is a hidden force inside of you that literally is trying to kill you at all times. It is trying to... You walk past a woman in the street, the Yetzer Hara just starts spinning thoughts in your head. We spend so much time. Oh, Iran's rebuilding the Fordo reactor. What do you care? You have like infinite Fordo reactors inside of you, waiting to kill you at every second. You have a Yetzer Hara, a tailor-made Yetzer Hara. We talked about the other day, like everything now is custom crafted, right? Custom crafted beer, craft beer, craft sandwiches. You have a craft Yetzer Hara. Your Yetzer Hara was implanted in you by Hashem, and it is custom crafted just for you. If you're very, very generous, the Yetzer Hara is not going to spend its time trying to make you be stingy. No. It'll say, Eliakim, what are your flaws? Short temper? You're a Kohen? Ooh. I'm going to work all the time to get you flustered. What about you, Shoshana? Ooh, you're jealous. I'm going to make sure I put you in so many situations where all your friends are succeeding and you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses to destroy you. How about you, Yosef? Ooh, Yosef's good looking. He's very lustful. I'll always make sure there's pretty girls around Yosef that say, hey, how you doing, Jojo? That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is an enemy. What's the point of war? You see all these things. Israel's Mossad planned for 20 years to... Well, you know what? Your Yetzer Hara comes in. It's custom crafted just for you. And it plans and it sees, okay, he's growing in this area. Now I got to step up my game. Eliakim's giving more tzedakah, but he used to be stingy. Not saying me, because that's... Now I got to step it up. Now I got to spend all my efforts. Because why? Because look at the merit that he's getting by donating to kollels and to all these different kiruv things. So what do I have to do? I need to show him, Eliakim, look what you could have done with that. You could have gone and gotten your son a new bike. What are you doing wasting time giving to these yeshiva kids? The Yetzer Hara is very smart. He's very crafty. And he spends every second of every day adapting to you. You're growing in this area, he'll target you in this area. You're weakening in this area, he'll pounce with all of his might. You see like a wounded animal in the water. Blood's all around. What happens? What did I say? The sharks are circling, right? Well, the Yetzer Hara is like a school of great, whatever they're called, great white sharks, right? The second you weaken a little bit, you're toast. The Yetzer Hara is just going to come and relentlessly try to get you. And then what happens when he gets you? We have to be, what does it say? You have to be like vigilant of the Satan from in front and behind. The Satan's also the Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? You have to know where the pitfalls are in life. But then when you actually either succeed in walking around it or you fall into it, that's where the Yetzer Hara pounces the most. Let's take Malka Ruth, for example. She wrote down the 7 things that she's working on. Let's just say that she's flying in all 7. And all of a sudden, Malka Ruth gets a really big head. Malka, good girl. Let's go out and buy you a new pair of shoes as a reward. Malka Ruth is suddenly very arrogant. What happens? Patting yourself on the shoulder, but who's behind you waiting to knife you in the back? The Yetzer Hara. What else happens? Let's say the opposite. Let's say you failed at something. Let's say you've been working so hard on something and then you did it again. You promised you weren't going to speak Lashon Hara and then you did it again. What does the Yetzer Hara say? What a loser. You're such a loser. Why do you even bother? You made such an effort and you failed. Just give it up. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna defeat it. You speak Lashon Hara. That's just who you are. You're a loser. Go on to some other topic. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. It tries to get you in every possible fashion. Okay. The Holy One, blessed be He, says to the Jewish people, I created the Yetzer Hara. I mean, it's not an independent force. Hashem created the Yetzer Hara. And I created Torah as its spice. If you involve yourselves in Torah, then you will not fall prey to it. And if you don't involve yourselves in Torah, then you will fall prey to it. This is Hashem speaking. This is in the Talmud, Kedushin 30b. Hashem is saying, I created this evil inclination. That's what life is. It is a constant battle against your evil inclination. There's a very, very significant reward for defeating your evil inclination. There's a very costly consequence and punishment for succumbing to it. But Hashem makes it clear. I created the Yetzer Hara, but also its antidote. I mean, what's hard about this? There's the Yetzer Hara. How do you defeat the Yetzer Hara? You involve yourself in learning Torah. Easy enough, right? Well, 68% of Jews now don't even think that we're polled in America, don't even think you need to believe in God to be a good Jew. So clearly we've sort of dropping the ball a little bit on the Torah part. What did the school of the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael say? If this repulsive wretch, meaning the Yetzer Hara, meets you, drag him to the base Midrash, meaning to the house of learning, like to the yeshiva. If he is stone, he will dissolve. If he is iron, he will break into fragments. Meaning, Rabbi Yishmael is saying, at a time when you are just flooded with the Yetzer Hara, you have now spun every rationalization to the point where you think that doing this specific thing not only is permissible, but ends up being righteous. The first thing that you need to do is just run to the base Midrash. Or if you're at home and there's no base Midrash near, you need to just take one of your Torah books and just start learning. What does he say? If it's a stone, meaning something basically impenetrable, it'll dissolve because of the Torah. If it's iron, can't break iron, right? It will break into fragments. This is what it says in the Gemara and Sukkos. We clearly see that Hashem is the creator of the Yetzer Hara. It serves a function in Hashem's world. It is a disgusting, despicable monster that is trying at all times, to destroy us, to knock us off our perch, to get arrogant. And there's only one thing that we can do to fight it. Okay, so that's where we are now. All right. How do we say that the Yetzer Hara appears to righteous people at the end of days? It appears like a mountain, an intimidatingly high mountain, one that they can't imagine ever having climbed. How does the same Yetzer Hara appear to the wicked at the end of days? It appears to them like what we said, like a thread of hair, a shockingly thin, conquerable thread of hair. They will be aghast that they never even tried to conquer it. For the righteous, it appears as a towering, seemingly insurmountable mountain. They will cry out, wondering how they ever managed to conquer such a formidable force. This suggests that the righteous perceive the Yetzer Hara as a powerful and daunting adversary, requiring significant and constant effort and divine assistance to overcome it. For the wicked, it appears as a mere hair's breadth, a tiny, insignificant thread. They too will cry, but in eternal despair and shame, realizing how easily they could have conquered such a trivial obstacle, yet failed to even try once. This implies the wicked never took the Yetzer Hara seriously, treating it as something easily controlled, and thus they never engaged in battle with it. Do you now see why one comes as a mountain and one comes as a hair? Okay. More about this. The sages of the Midrash state that after a person dies, the heavenly court allows a person to view his evil inclination. His Yetzer Hara, as it were, the sages go on to say that if the person was righteous in his lifetime, his evil inclination appears to him as a mountain. And if he was wicked, it appears to him as a lowly hill. This is what the Midrash says. In either case, the person is astonished. The first person is amazed that he managed to surmount this mountain, while the latter is astonished that such a measly little hill deterred him. This is a different Midrash, but again, a mountain and a little hill, little anthill. What do the sages mean to say here? At first blush, their teaching is counterintuitive. If anything, one would have expected the reverse. Wasn't the wicked person tormented by the mountain? By roiling desires he found impossible to subdue? And wasn't the righteous person the one who tamed his sense of personal desire? The mere hill? No. The righteous person sees desire that has not yet been sated, whereas the wicked person sees what desire looks like after one has given into it. That's the whole secret here. What does the righteous person see? The righteous person sees, I love lobster. It was my favorite food. So when I go to, Publix now and I'm walking past the seafood thing, I see lobster all the time. I'd love to have it again. I remember the taste. I don't do it. And then that's like a minimal desire. I have much more yearning desires. And I work God willing, to try to control them. So what am I going to see? I'm going to see, if I'm righteous, a big, big mountain. Because I conquered my desires. And these desires were like a huge, huge mountain. But if I'm wicked and I give in to my desires, what am I going to see? Just a little nothing. A little piece of hair. A little anthill. Nothing. That's what the wicked person sees, what his desire looks like after one is given into it. I mean, what's the proof of this? People that, cheat on their spouses and have affairs. They get what? 3, 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes of pleasure, and then what? They look back, oh my God, just destroyed my whole life and my family for what? For nothing. For a little nothing. For a little, little infinitesimal, feeling. That's the little hair. That's the anthill. The person that overcomes it, that's the mountain. Overcoming desires, we're the only creations in the world that can overcome our desires. I mean, a lion that wants to eat, he's going to eat. He doesn't go up and say, I really feel bad for that cheetah. I mean, I know he just got out of AA and, I'll give him a pass this time. No, lion doesn't. Acts on instinct, has no control over that. We have control. So when we see that there's something that we want and we don't act on that, that's powerful. That's why we were created. That's why the Yetzer Hara was created. Why will the Yetzer Hara appear different to tzaddikim and Rishayim, to the righteous and the wicked? The Sfas Emes answers that the Yetzer Hara comes to a person looking like a hair. To every person, looking like a hair. If one passes the test, he is confronted with another test. Each test is called a hair. These hairs accumulate until they become a mountain. This is what the Sfas Emes is saying. The Rishonim, however, never overcame that first challenge, which is the first hair. Therefore, to the Rasha, to the wicked, the Yetzer Hara appears like a hair. Because he never took, like we said before, he never took that first step to conquer his Yetzer Hara. And to the tzaddikim, to the righteous, the Yetzer Hara appears like a huge mountain. As the Sfas Emes writes, the Yetzer Hara is always a hair. Meaning, you conquer one thing, and you think it's so insurmountable. It's a hair. You conquer the next one, it's another hair. They bundle together, and all of a sudden, you got an afro. You got a big mountain afro. And you're going to cry. My God, how did I do it? It's like, you go out, you want to lift 200 pounds. You can't even lift 10. So what do? You start with 10. You start with 5. And then you go from 5 to 10. And then from 10 to 15, and 15 to 20, and then 20 to 50, 50 to 100, 150. All of a sudden, you hit 200 pounds. And you look back, and you think, look where I was. Look where I couldn't even lift 10 pounds. And now I'm lifting 200. Very proud of myself. Look at the enormous challenge. Look at all the suffering, the hard work, the sweat, the toil, all those times in the gym. Thinking I'm a loser, I can't even do 10 pounds. Now I'm lifting 200 pounds. When the tzaddikim conquer it, they are confronted with another hair of Yetzer Hara. This goes on and on until the hairs accumulate and become a mountain. But the Rasha are static. They don't fight the Yetzer Hara. They just keep succumbing over and over and over again. They remain with the first Yetzer Hara, which was the size of a hair. We should therefore do a good deed, then another one, because these good deeds, these mitzvahs, will end up being a mountain of goodness. The Midrash, the Yalkut Shimoni says, a person shouldn't say, how can I learn the entire Torah and keep mitzvahs? Like I'm saying with the 200 pounds. The Torah is so vast. I mean, I've done, I think, 50 lectures since I got to America. A lot of topics. I have not even covered one grain of sand on every beach in the world. Not even a fraction of a grain of sand. The Torah is, you can learn one topic for the rest of your life and never even know the topic. How can I learn the entire Torah and keep the mitzvahs? The Torah is so vast. We can compare this to a king who had a bottomless pit. He told some workers to fill the pit with earth. When the workers came to the site, they realized the mission was impossible. The foolish workers said, how can we ever fill this pit? The wise among them said, why should I care? I get paid for every day of work. I'm happy I have a job. Similarly, when one sees the length and breadth of the Torah, he despairs of ever knowing the entire Torah or keeping it properly. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him, why should you care? You are a hired worker, and you will be paid an olam haba for each day that you work. Do your day's work. The Midrash states this is the lesson hinted to by the words that we say in the Shema. These words that I am commanding you today. The pasuk is hinting you should focus on them today. What's this like? You want to lose weight. You're like 300 pounds. You want to get down to 180. You look at yourself in the mirror and you're just, how am I ever going to do it? And you despair, right? How will I ever be able to, because people are so goal-oriented, right? You should be goal-oriented. Well, what most people don't tell you is to be goal-oriented, you need like thousands and thousands of smaller goals to get to that big goal. So the person, oh my gosh, 120 pounds. I'm 300 pounds now. I want to get down to 180 pounds. So what do? Every day they're trying to lose a little bit. They're exercising more, they're walking more, they're eating less, they're eating healthier. 1 week goes by, they see some progress. That's what they're saying here. The Yetzer Hara's greatest trick is by telling you, you think you're going to be a Chafetz Chaim, Eliakim? Look at you. Look at your past. You're never going to come close. Give up, loser. And no, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to become the Chafetz Chaim. I don't want to become the Chafetz Chaim. I want to become the best possible version of me. So how do I do that? First off, the first step is literally realizing you have a Yetzer Hara. That's the first step. The first step is realizing that you are at war. You're at war. Everyone watching this right now, thankfully right now, if you're watching this, you're winning the battle. You're engaging in Torah. But you're at war. The second you're done watching this lecture, I guarantee you the Yetzer Hara is going to go, good job, Lisa. You just watched an hour and whatever it's going to be, 37 minutes of Torah. Why don't you go, you were really wanting to watch that Netflix thing that you missed from like 3 months ago before you started keeping Shabbos? Come on, girl, pat yourself on the back. You just watched that Torah lecture. Come on, go reward yourself. That's what it does. And it sounds so stupid when I'm saying it out loud, but that's what the Yetzer Hara is. It's stupid. It tricks you into doing really stupid things. And if you're vigilant and you're aware of this, you'll realize how like dumb you are for falling for it. Yesterday I knew that I shouldn't have daven without, showering, putting on new clothes. But I'm sitting there literally having like a struggle with myself because the Yetzer Hara found a little weakness, found a drop of laziness that I was showing and tried to pounce. Imagine what they do on the big stuff. Imagine what the Yetzer Hara does on the big stuff. If I can feel the pouncing, I felt it. You can feel the Yetzer Hara. When you're tuned into life, you can feel that voice in your head. Not that we're crazy, but there's that voice that's saying, okay, one time, don't worry about it. Everyone else does it. That's how it gets you. We are faced with challenges to our moral fiber every day. Rabbi Yitzchak says in the Gemara, every day the evil inclination of a person grows stronger and stronger. Some manage to overcome the evil inclination. There may be struggle and uncertainty as one battles to overcome the desires of the heart. Sinning really can be fun and offer much benefit in the short term, says the Yetzer Hara. Yet the righteous manage to overcome the Yetzer Hara, focusing on what is right, not what is convenient. And how do you know what is right? Through the Torah. You do not get to say what is right, or what is moral, or what is righteous, or what is good, or it makes you a good Jew. Hashem gets to decide that, because he created you. And it would be very cruel if Hashem didn't give you a means to understand how to appropriately live life. But he did. It's called the Torah. Yet the righteous managed to overcome the Yetzer Hara, focusing on what is right, not what is convenient. Years later, they look back and realize this is important. Getting back to the mountain. What's also important about the mountain? And listen to this because this is so beautiful. Years later, the righteous look back and realize that one slip here or there, and they may have fallen off the mountain. And they cry, trembling about what may have been, and cry with joy over what was. That's also part of the crying. You see this mountain, and you realize, I'm not a mountain climber. I'm not a hiker. I cannot stand being, anywhere that I can't just walk on nice land. I don't want to be looking for rocks and tripping over stuff. I just want to walk. I want to be near the sea, and I want to listen to Torah. But let's just say you're out there and you're one of these mountain hikers. You love, I'm a thrill seeker, what's called, whatever it's called. You climb this big mountain, and you're looking back, and you're like, you know what? Gosh, I really did it. A third of the way up, I slipped. I got the scrape on my arm to show it. Halfway up, I almost quit. I almost came back down. We're going to look back, God willing, if we're righteous. The righteous, and don't you want to be in this category? Don't you want to look back when you're shown what your life was and see all the things that you conquered, all the situations that you were so close to slipping and falling off this mountain, but you made it? Because you were constantly engaged in a battle against this scoundrel, this evil, this uncircumcised monster, as he's called. And tragically, the reverse happens to the wicked. They are unable to overcome their desires, succumbing to the temptations surrounding them. And the more accustomed to sin they become, the more their values invert. Rav Huna said, when a person sins and repeats, it becomes to him as if it's allowed. It makes it easier to do the sin the next time and repeat it. If they are lucky, then at some point, long after the temporal pleasures of the sin have passed, when they come face to face with the moral impact of their choices, they too will cry. An eternal cry of sadness for what could have been, but wasn't. This is life. Life is just a non-stop battle of good and evil. And your Yetzer Hatov is good. It's the good inclination. Your Yetzer Hara is evil, is the evil inclination. It is a war raging inside of you, and there's only one true way. There's only one nuclear bomb. We should have just nuked our enemies a long time ago. We didn't. We keep fighting these little half battles, these little half measures, ceasefires, humanitarian zones, all these different things. If you do this if you fought the way with your Yetzer Hara that Israel's, fought war since 1967, you'd fail miserably. You're going to be one of these that's just crying, fighting these little half battles, these little just useless ceasefires. No, before October 7th, you ever seen pictures of Hamas training? It was powerful watching them train. They just were relentless. Oh, you ever see the Israeli soldiers before October 7th? TikTok dances and, stupid little, pillow fights and stuff like that. What happened? After, the initial tush whooping, we woke up and realized, oh, wait, there's an enemy trying to destroy us 24 hours a day. They literally train for it. They brag about it. They broadcast it. They broadcast their training for a reason, to let you know, hey, Jew, coming for you. What do you think the Yetzer Hara is? We're so worried about, oh my gosh, Canada's just gonna recognize a Palestinian state. It's terrible. We should, get AIPAC to do something. You don't need to worry about this stuff when you're losing the battle inside yourself. Focus on yourself. Sometimes it sounds selfish, but if you're losing your current battle with the Yetzer Hara, what do you care, about anything else? Nothing else in life should even matter to you. Obviously, you got to do you have family, you have a job. But I'm saying, if you are just getting beaten up by your Yetzer Hara, and every year, when Rosh Hashanah comes, you're just, okay, this year this time I'm, double secret probation going to try to do? Your Yetzer Hara is just, October 7thing you. You got to step up. You got to wake up. This is life. If your Yetzer Hara is just, and we're all losing. There's something inside. We're all losing, because if we were completely winning, it would show that we're not learning Torah correctly. If you think that you're winning against the Yetzer Hara and you're righteous, it means that you're not. You ask the biggest rabbi, put him to a lie detector test. You ask the biggest rabbi in the world if he's righteous. He'll tell you no, unequivocally, and he'll be serious. Because he knows that, and we'll talk about this in a minute, that the higher you go, the more you feel your Yetzer Hara. So if you're out there and you feel no Yetzer Hara, it's because, you're not doing a good job. The Yetzer Hara is just, sees how puny, and he needs to give no effort. It's like, remember the Dream Team, when America, it was like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. They were on the original Dream Team, and they were playing, I think they played Angola. They beat them by 80 points. How much did they have to try to beat a vastly inferior team? Not at all. I mean, Michael Jordan played 5 minutes and then just sat the rest of the game. If you don't feel that big pull, if you don't feel that you're constantly involved in a battle, it's because the Yetzer Hara is just whooping your tush, and it's just not giving up on you, but just there's really nothing left to do. He doesn't need to destroy you. You're destroying yourself, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, all those years that I was on drugs, all the Yetzer Hara had to do was make sure that I had drugs, which is why every single place I ever went and I asked them for drugs, they always had cocaine. It was I could write a book about this. And I wrote a book about it, but no matter where I was, bar, strip club, anywhere, I'd get up the courage I'd say, look, I'm not a cop. Do you know any place where I could get cocaine? They always said, yeah, sure, follow me in the bathroom. Always. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara realized this guy's such a loser. I found the one thing that he will self-destruct with himself. I just need to always make sure that he's around cocaine. So the Yetzer Hara would make sure that I was always around cocaine. Whoever I was sitting next to had it. In weird places. I'm talking weird situations. That's it. He didn't have to do anything else. The Yetzer Hara really. If I waste my time on Eliakim Cohen, get real. I put in a second a day. I just have to make sure that I maneuver it so that that's what the Satan does. And when Hashem sees that you're on a path of destruction, he allows you to be on the path of destruction. We learn this clearly. When Balak sent messengers to Bilam, right, and said, I want you to come. And Bilam said, can I go to Hashem? And Hashem said, no. But then the next day, Hashem let him go. Why? Because he saw that Bilam wanted to do evil. And what does it say? Haderech she'adam rotzeh lelech ba molichin oso. Meaning, whatever path someone wants to go on, Hashem will help them on the path, for good or bad. So when Hashem sees that I want it to be self-destructive, he will basically just give the Satan free reign, always make sure that Eliakim is around people that are doing coke when he's... Yetzer Hara has to do nothing. What does the Yetzer Hara have to do for really, really powerful people? We'll get to that in a sec. Okay. This is Bereshis, right? Genesis. God smelled the pleasing odor. And God said, I will never again curse the land because of mankind. Because the inclination of the heart is evil from his youth. That evil inclination is put inside of us the second we come into this world. We have an evil inclination. So there you have it. We are born into our lowly position. As the Talmud declares, difficult is the Yetzer Hara that even the Creator, even Hashem, calls it evil. Because the evil inclination of the heart of man is evil from his youth. This is literally in the Torah. The Yetzer Hara is 13 years older than the Yetzer Tov. right? I guess for girls, 12. While still in the mother's womb, the Yetzer Hara begins to develop in a person. If he begins to violate the Shabbos, nothing stops him. If he commits murder, nothing stops him. If he goes off to sin for something else, nothing stops him. Mitzvahs, gereris mitzvahs, right? Mitzvahs lead to other mitzvahs, also averis, also sins. One sin just, weaves and weaves and weaves and weaves until you're trapped. You're stuck. For some people, you see that their Yetzer Hara is, I've one of my sponsors, her son is just mired in drugs, heroin, different heroin type. It's just the saddest thing because, I was there. I never did heroin because I knew that would, thankfully I had a few red lines. I mean, I always thought I was like a sophisticated drug user because I had red lines. To my credit, I never crossed them. I never mixed cocaine with any like pharmaceutical drugs. Everyone did like speedballs, right? They do coke to go up, and then they take Xanax to come down. It's very dangerous. I mean, cocaine itself is dangerous. But I always thought I was like the smart, like the smart criminal, right? The smart drug user. So I would never mix it, and I also would never do heroin because I knew that the second I did heroin, my life would be over. I had opportunities, but I never did it. It's hard to watch someone. With drug use, it's easy because you see someone's problem very prominently. You see them just self-destruct in front of your eyes. What the Yetzer Hara is very good at, and how he fights real battles against much stronger people, is what did Yoel say about the Yetzer Hara? That it's the hidden one, that he's hidden. He will find the one littlest, tiniest weakness inside of you, and that's it. He will then craft an entire battle plan around this one thing to always catch you at an unsuspecting moment. Literally, I hope people can, if you get nothing else from this lecture, you have to know that you are at war at all times. You have a battle raging inside of you every single second of the day. Most people will go through their entire life not knowing that, which is why at the end, the Yetzer Hara to them will look like hair. What do we want? We want a Yetzer Hara with hair, long. We want to see this mountain and just be like, you know what? I battled this my whole life. I lost sometimes, I won sometimes, I always dusted myself back up, and I fought. You want to see that mountain. You want to just be at the foot of that Mount Everest, and you want to look up and say, Hashem, how in the world did I do that? And you want to cry. You're going to cry. That's the goal. You want to cry for the right reason. Rav Shimon Bar Levi Shimon ben Levi says, a person's evil inclination overpowers him every day and seeks to kill him. People, we're not just talking, it's a spiritual killing. It's trying to get you. Hashem would much rather have me drive to synagogue than sit at home. Hashem would much rather have me show how much I love Judaism than drive. No, that's the Yetzer Hara, making you do something so stupid and evil and criminal, but it makes you twist it for the good things. Why would Hashem much rather have me sit at home on Shabbos than driving to synagogue to show how much Judaism means to me, to be around other Jews? No, that's the Yetzer Hara. That's one of the easiest ways that the Yetzer Hara gets the Jew. On things that seem so morally right, but if you learned a little Torah, you would see that Hashem forbids it and is disgusted by it. Lisa, the sponsor of this lecture, she messages me sometime in March. Eliakim, I've been listening to your lectures. She's been listening for years, but she said, should I be driving to synagogue on Friday night? She said, I drive with this one woman, and I love going to shul so much. I wrote back, no. Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? I said, you know what the answer is. And she said, I just feel like I get so much out of going to... I said, no. You can't go. You know that you can't go. And I say, yes, I know that it's hard. Because everyone wants to spin, because the Yetzer Hara is saying, no, Hashem doesn't know that, in 2025, people are going to live farther away from shul. If Hashem knew that, he definitely would have had a dispensation for driving. No, Hashem knows everything. He knew the future. He knew 2025. He knows 2032. He knows that people are going to live far away from shul. Did he give any dispensation for driving to shul on Shabbos? No. What's the only dispensation you have for breaking Shabbos? It's a life risk. Going to shul is not a life risk, no matter how much you want. But I can't live without my shul. Temple breath desecration means everything to me. No, that's the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is very clever. Not only will it make you sin, it will make you think you're the biggest tzaddik or tzaddikus for sinning. Rav Shimon Levi says that the evil inclination overpowers him every day, and again, this is critical, and seeks to kill him. The wicked watches the righteous and seeks to slay him. And if not for the fact that the Holy One, blessed be He, assists each person in battling his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination, he could not overcome it. As it stated, the Lord will not leave him in his hand. But you have to acknowledge that there's a Yetzer Hara, and you need to ask Hashem for help. You need to daven. You need to give tzedakah. You need to learn Torah. You need to do things like Malka Rus does. Write down the things you're struggling with and try to conquer them. If he sees that you're doing none of these things, that's a very big problem. Why? Because then at the end of your life, you're going to see that Yetzer Hara, and it's going to be one single, solitary strand of hair that's like in your bowl of soup. And you're going to go, ew! What a shame. What an eternal shame. Oi to the illusion. This is from the Igeris, the Or Yisrael. Oi to illusion, that evil enemy. It is in our hands to distance it. If we would only listen carefully to our seichel, to our rational thought, to calculate the benefit of sin against its loss. Yet what can we do? The imagination is a strong river, and our seichel will drown unless we lead it in a boat, our feelings and our temper. The insidious nature of the evil urge, consists of the fact that it conjures up in our imagination something desirable, which because of its desirability, we rationalize into considering as harmless, harboring no physical or spiritual danger for us. Greed, lust, combined with one's imagination, is a powerful tool for leading man into sin and therefore destruction. Unless man is able to harness the power of reason against such insidious attempts to trick him into disobedience against God by giving into this desire or for gratification of his senses, he will fall victim constantly to the evil urges, machinations. I mean, honestly, I think that the driving to synagogue on Shabbos is the quintessential evil inclination of our times. I can't stress it enough. If you're out there and you're driving to synagogue and you've been watching my lectures, you're in very big trouble, because now that you know that I've told you this, you can't plead ignorance in the next world. I mean, sorry, not sorry. But I think this is the biggest evil inclination of our times, is the desecration of Shabbos observance that is then spun into righteousness and morality. I mean, you clearly cannot light a fire. You clearly cannot use electricity. You clearly can't even turn on a car. To then get in a car and say to Hashem, your Torah, I love it. I love it enough that I want to go to shul. I don't love it enough to actually read what's in the Torah, or to listen to any qualified rabbi, or to just use common sense. That's what you're saying to Hashem. And some sins are like, okay, you ate a non-kosher chicken. That's terrible. But it's not breaking Shabbos terrible. I mean, breaking Shabbos terrible is the equivalent of worshiping idols terrible. It's the worst punishment in the Torah you get for breaking Shabbos. Death penalty by stoning and a spiritual excision from the next world. And in this world, you have the halachic status of a non-Jew. This, to me, is the quintessential evil inclination in our times. And thankfully, someone like Lisa listened to what I was saying and overcame her evil inclination. Because I know that Lisa's Shabbos aren't seemingly as enjoyable anymore. She's not around the friends that she was around. She's not around that shul atmosphere. I've been talking to her. I've been telling her, you're not living near a community. And even the ones that she's living near, she's not so told her, try to find another community. I mean, I can't force people to do anything, but I said, you overcame literally, to me, like the toughest test in Judaism. Another tough test is something that Malka Rus did. Forget about the fact that she converted. First, she converted conservative. Okay? So a conservative conversion is nothing. There's no such thing as a conservative conversion. You either convert according to halacha, according to Jewish law, according to 3,347 years of tradition. 37 years of tradition. 3,337 years, I think, since the Torah was given. You convert for a certain reason. So she converted conservative. Some people I went to yeshiva with, they are sons of women that converted conservative. You know how hard it was for them to just finally say, you know what, I'm not even Jewish. And they had to convert. It was a much easier conversion because they grew up, Jewish and in their heads and all these different things. And it was a much easier conversion for them, but they still had to convert. They still are converts. They're not Jews. I mean, they grew up their whole life thinking they're Jews. Their last name is, some of them, Cohen. But they're not Jewish. The Yetzer Hara. Okay. That halacha might have been good in modern times. Anytime in your head that you're saying a few key words, let me just tell you that the Yetzer Hara is trying to knock you out. Okay? Here's a few of them. In modern times. Anytime you are having a discussion with yourself, trying to rationalize or justify something, and in your head pops in modern times, there is a 99% chance that you are getting your tush whooped by the Yetzer Hara, and you need to do something drastically fast, because 1600 Poland was modern times, 1700 France was modern times, 1920 Germany was modern times. Today's modern times, but 50 years from now it'll also be ancient. If you are trying to justify something based on modern times, then you've already lost. Another one is, Hashem would much rather me, whatever you're going to say after that is just stupid, wrong, ignorant, and evil. I can almost guarantee it. From 17 years of experience, from someone that came from a very terrible place, girls, drugs, selfishness, ego, arrogance. I'm trying to help, okay? I'm trying to be a bridge, because what's about tshuva, someone that's returned to Hashem? We are the bridge between the people that were born religious and can't fathom what it's like to, go to a club in Vegas and do ecstasy for 10 hours and just feel like you're in heaven. They don't know that, thank God. The non-religious people, they don't know what it's like to, have a perfect Shabbos. I mean, it makes that 10-hour, you almost cry that this is what used to give you joy when you have these perfect Shabbos. So we're the bridge. I see the role that I have. I'm telling you flat out, from both sides of the equation. Anytime you're trying to use modern times, or that you're in the, Hashem would much rather have me, and they usually go hand in hand, you're wrong. There is a 99.99% chance that you're wrong. Okay? And you're going to do something very stupid, and more than likely you will continue to do that thing until you're destroyed. You might not be destroyed in this world. You might break Shabbos your whole life, and you die a billionaire. I not even want to tell you what you're going to get in the next world. It's a battle. It's a battle. That, okay. When our sages and the Jerusalem Talmud said, the eyes and the heart are agents of sin, they referred to the warning against the evil urge, the Yetzer Hara, that we recite twice a day and the last section of the Shema, like I said before. The sages taught, and you shall place visamtem, these words of mine, in your hearts. This is in Devarim. Read this as though it's stated, sam tam. Sam tam, which means a perfect elixir. Again, it says in Devarim, you shall place visamtem, these words of mine in your hearts. Right? This is what it says in Devarim. Don't read it as visamtem. Read it as sam tam, meaning the perfect elixir. The Torah is compared to the elixir of life. You shall place these words, meaning the Torah. This is what Moshe is saying to the Jewish people before he passes away, before they're about to enter the land. Visamtem. Sam tam, the perfect elixir. Again, the Torah was created to be the antidote for the Yetzer Hara. Imagine going through life and you get bit by a snake, but you know that in your pocket you have an antidote that it doesn't matter if you get bit by the snake. So sure, it hurts, and you wish you didn't get bit by the snake, but you're not afraid of destruction. Well, if you're walking through life and you don't know that there's a Yetzer Hara trying to kill you and destroy you, forget about just killing you in this world. The Yetzer Hara, the Satan, wants no trace of you in the next world. Okay? You have to understand. It's not just a battle in this world. He wants you done forever. He wants you in the lowest level of Gehenna, never to get out. And there is a lowest level of Gehenna that you'll never get out of. I don't know that anyone that's watching this would ever be on that level, thank God. But, you don't even want to... You want to be the one that sees the mountain. The Torah is the elixir for life. The things that you think are such minuscule rules and laws and commandments and fences around fences are there for a reason. Hashem created you. He also created the Yetzer Hara. He gives the Yetzer Hara carte blanche to try to destroy you every second of the day. He will then reward the people that overcame that and followed his Torah and kept the Shabbos and said, you know what, I'd love to be at shul, but I don't want to break Shabbos, so I will stay at home. People like Lisa, an eternal reward. The other people will have eternal shame. They will have going to a very bad place, and they will have eternity to see that hair that they were not able to overcome. Okay. With this interpretation, we can answer an important question. Everyone knows the story of how Potiphar tried to seduce Yosef, right? Yosef came down to Egypt. He was very, very good looking. Potiphar's wife was stunningly beautiful, and she was changing clothes all day long to seduce Yosef. He almost fell prey to the scheme. According to one opinion in the Talmud, Rav and Shmuel have a different opinion. It says that Yosef came to his master's house that day to do work. One says he literally came to do work, and the other one said he came to sin. Like the work was he was going to live with Potiphar's wife. But then it says, the Midrash says, and Rashi says, that an image of Yaakov's face came, like in a mirror, and warned him that he would lose his spot on the Choshen, like he would cease to be one of the tribes. And as a result of that, Yosef fled. For rejecting the wife of his master, Yosef earned the title Tzaddik, right? Yosef HaTzaddik. But it's weird. He had help. He had help from Yaakov. He saw the image of his father telling him, you're going to blow everything, you're going to have an eternal shame. And then he fled. So what's so righteous about him? You ever thought about this? Why is he Yosef HaTzaddik? He was going to sin with a non-Jewish woman who's married. Why is he a tzaddik for this? First of all, he shouldn't have even been considered accepting his master's wife's proposal of adultery. Secondly, the only reason why he succeeded in avoiding sin was because he saw his father's face. Should a tzaddik not be able to resist such temptation on his own without divine intervention and divine assistance? What makes a tzaddik apparently is how he realizes just how powerful his Yetzer Hara is and how easily he can fall prey to it. Sometimes over time, sometimes at a moment's notice. Aware of this inherent human vulnerability, the tzaddik never takes his Yetzer Hara for granted and prays for heavenly help in the battle against it. As Yosef did that day when he almost lost everything. This is from Rabbi Pinchas Winston. And if anybody wants to just be blown away with Torah books, go out and get every single one of Rabbi Pinchas Winston's books. They're all colored. You know, one's green, one's blue, one's like beige, I think one's yellow. Just gems. Let me read the last part again because this is so critical. What makes a tzaddik? That he's constantly at war with his Yetzer Hara. He never gives up. He realizes, okay, I might be doing awesome. I might be leaps and bounds, ahead of where I was. But even one little second of pride is the opening the Yetzer Hara needs to get in and just, there's a problem in our times with what's it called? Squatters, right? Squatters' rights. Never in my life have I seen a law that is so evil called squatters' rights. You have a home, you go on vacation. Squatters come in, they've been there for 2 weeks. You now have to go through or you rent a house out to someone and they just won't leave. You now have to go through costly litigation or whatever to get these criminals out of your house. I have a friend in Netanya right now. He rented it out to some couple in Philadelphia that just trashed the house. He can't get them out. Thousands of dollars. This is the most evil law in the world. Well, what's the Yetzer Hara? He's a squatter. He's a a squatter that won't leave. And the second you think, oh, you know what? I finally got that little rascal out. You almost tricked me back in March, but I got you now. You just literally left that back gate open and that little scoundrel comes right back in. And this time, he's more prepared. The Yetzer Hara is also, like AI. AI is always learning, right? So each iteration of a new AI, they've learned more. Well, so is your Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara learns, okay, Eliakim is really striving in this area, but he's getting a little too confident in this, so boom, writes down his little notes. When Hamas came on October 7th, they had notes from people that worked, stupid idiot Jews that we are. We had these monsters working in our communities, and they were writing down notes. Okay, this family's away on Saturday. This family's this one has 2 dogs. The dog's very big, disabled to, neutralize the dog right when you come in. They were prepared. Well, no one's more prepared than your Yetzer Hara. Okay. Let's do some examples, and then we're going to end on a very high note. Okay? All is not bleak with the Yetzer Hara. Let's end on a high note. So I had a Rosh Yeshiva. I won't mention his name. He used to learn 50 blot of Gemara a day, minimum. That's a lot. His whole life is just Torah. Very sweet, very, he's the Rosh Yeshiva of the yeshiva. Another rabbi said something that this rabbi said one time that blew us away. So this was the rabbi for the beginners, people like me that, literally just left their old life and were coming to yeshiva. So they put a guy in who was also about Tshuva, a rabbi also about Tshuva, Rabbi Lamb, right? Rabbi Lamb's also, go on Torah anytime, you can listen to his lectures. Very powerful speaker, very relatable, okay? He mentioned to us one time that this Rosh Yeshiva said to him, I don't have a computer in my home because I wouldn't be able to trust myself. And Rabbi Lamb said to him, what? You're the Rosh Yeshiva. You learn 50, blot of Gemara a day. What do you mean you won't be able to trust yourself? He said, if my wife was ever not here, I know that my Yetzer Hara would work overtime. I won't be able to trust myself. And we're all thinking, what in the world did we just hear? The Rosh Yeshiva, the most righteous person at the yeshiva, is saying that he too would terrified that he would succumb to like the evils of what could be seen on the internet if his wife wasn't home. That was a nice introduction to the Yetzer Hara for us. Each one that I'm doing, it's someone that it is considered in Judaism greater than the next. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about. It's a famous Rav named Abaye in the Gemara, right? Abaye is always linked with Rabbah and Abaye. So Abaye tells this story. Abaye once heard a certain man say to a certain woman, they were younger, let us rise early and go on the road together. Upon hearing this, Abaye said to himself, I will go and I will accompany them. You know, Abaye was a leading rabbi of the generation. And prevent them from committing a sin. He said, what purpose would this man and woman walk together if they weren't going to sin? So Abaye, being a do-gooder, said, I'm going to walk with them. He went after them for a distance of 3 parsangs, which is a lot, in a marsh among the reeds while they walked on the road. He walked behind them, so they couldn't see him, but he could see them. They did not engage in any wrongful activity. When they were taking leave of each other, he heard them saying this, we traveled a long distance together, and the company was pleasant. And then they left. They parted ways. Abaye said he was devastated. He leaned against a tree, and he was devastated. He said in that situation, if instead of that man, it had been me, I would not have been able to restrain myself. He leaned against the doorpost, and he felt a lot of shame and regret. A certain elder came, meaning Eliyahu Navi, and taught him, anyone who is greater, so is his Yetzer Hara, meaning the greater you are, the greater and more powerful your Yetzer Hara is. Therefore, Abaye should not feel regret. It was a realization of his greatness. I hope you understand the enormity of this. It's exactly what this Rosh Yeshiva. The greater you are, no one wants to beat a loser team. You want to beat the best team. I mean, my whole life I've been an Alabama college football fan. So when we beat the #1 team, which thank God we've done a lot in the last 18 years, it's a much better feeling than beating a team that's 1-10 and is terrible. The Yetzer Hara, he's in this for the win. He doesn't care about Eliakim circa 2007. This kid will destroy himself. I don't have to do anything. You think he's spending his whole day focusing on the losers like I used to be? No. Who does he try to get? He tries to get the Rosh Yeshivas and the Abayes. How about this one? These next two will blow you away. It's right in the Gemara. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Meir, the great Rabbi Meir, my favorite of all, he would ridicule transgressors by saying how easy it is to avoid temptation. One day, the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, appeared to him as a woman standing on the other side of the river. Since there was no ferry to cross, he took hold of a rope and crossed the river, with zeal. When he reached halfway across the rope bridge, the evil inclination left him and said to him, were it not for the fact that they proclaimed about you in heaven, be careful with regard to the Rabbi Meir because of his Torah, I would have made your blood like to ma'ah, meaning worthless. Rabbi Meir was the greatest rabbi of the generation. The Yetzer Hara comes to him as a beautiful woman on the other end of you would think in your head that Rabbi Meir would, no, what did Rabbi Meir do? The greatest of the greatest also had the greatest of the greatest Yetzer Hara. He literally took a hold of a rope bridge and just tried to cross to get to this woman. Now the kicker. Who was Rabbi Meir's Rebbe? Rabbi Akiva, greatest man that ever lived, right? Moshe Rabbeinu got the Torah as a gift from Hashem. Clearly Moshe was the most righteous person, and no one will be a prophet like Moshe. But Rabbi Akiva toiled, and he hit a level of the Torah that even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get. Rabbi Akiva at 40 years old was just an ignorant Amma Aretz bore, a nothing. And then for the next 80 years became Rabbi Akiva. Why? What did he see? He saw a drop of water hitting a stone over and over again. You know, like when you're in the shower and you just hear the drip on your head, drip, drip. Then he saw a hole born. It was bored through that rock. And then he realized, ooh, this is a lesson for life. It's a lesson for two things. One, he went out, he learned just Aleph base. You know, married this amazing girl, Rachel. And that's a lecture that I want to do. If any female wants to sponsor, I'd love for a female to actually sponsor this. The most righteous person, the most righteous woman in world history is Rabbi Akiva's wife, unequivocally. I want to do a whole lecture on that. At some point, I'm going to start working on that. So if anyone's interested in that, that would be a very nice one for a woman to sponsor. But anyway, Rabbi Akiva realized that a little bit at a time, learning Aleph base. He didn't even know Aleph base. He was literally an illiterate, ignorant bore. And he hated Torah sages. He said, I wish I could bite them like a donkey. That's how terrible Rabbi Akiva was. Actually hated. But he saw that a little drop here and there, meaning all I can control is what's in front of me. I'll do my part. And then over time, he became Rabbi Akiva. Same thing with the battle of the Yetzer Hara. Just talked about 3 different examples. What did Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva would also ridicule transgressors. He was a transgressor himself, then he would ridicule transgressors. What's one thing that we're supposed to learn from this? Don't ridicule transgressors. You don't know what other people's Yetzer Hara is. We can hate evil. We can hate people that are traitors. We can hate people that openly desecrate, but don't see a friend and say, gosh, she just keeps making the same mistakes. You don't know what her challenge is. She has a craft Yetzer Hara. Rabbi Akiva would ridicule transgressors. One day the Satan appeared to him as a woman on top of a palm tree. Rabbi Akiva grabbed hold of the palm tree and began climbing. When he was halfway up the palm tree, the evil inclination left him and said to him, were it not for the fact that they proclaim about you in heaven, be careful with regard to the Torah of Rabbi Akiva, I would have made your blood like tuma'ah. What more do you need? If Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Meir, and Abaye, and my Rosh Hashiva could succumb to the Yetzer Hara, and were vigilant against the Yetzer Hara, and fought the Yetzer Hara, we're not even, the dust of their shoes. Surely we can also take the Yetzer Hara seriously and learn how to battle it. Shlomo HaMelech wrote, there is not a righteous man on earth who does only good and never sins. We all make mistakes. We all fall. The righteous fall 7 times, they get up every time. Now, how do we end this? Tisha B'Av just ended. I mean, not when I'm giving this lecture, because clearly I still have a beard, which I'll be shaving off as you're watching this lecture, probably. God willing. What's the hope here? Well, the lecture started off by, if you win the battle against your Yetzer Hara, look at the eternal joy you're going to get. The Beis Aaron says, every person, also those on a low level, must consider that every mitzvah and act of gemilas chasadim that they do is very, very significant. He must believe and know that every deed, every good mitzvah that you do, every time you were about to do something wrong, and because you knew that it was wrong, you battled that Yetzer Hara, you create an immense impression in heaven. With this knowledge, one can drop his bad habits. But if he doesn't consider his deeds special, he won't be able to change his ways. This is the meaning of the pasuk. I consider my mitzvahs chashuv, special to Hashem. Therefore, I am able to do many good deeds and turn away from regilus, habits, and I can return to your Torah. We are taught by the sages to be under the impression that at all times the world is equally balanced between averos and mitzvahs, meaning good deeds and bad deeds. That the world is like hinging. It's the next thing that will go on either side will pull the world in one direction or the other. What do the sages tell us to do? Every single one of us has to have this mindset at all times. You want to drive to shul at Shabbos? Boom! The world's now evil. The world's now on the level of evil. You want to do what Lisa does? And, even though that voice is saying in her head, how could Hashem not want me to be in shul? He'd much rather be at a home. That sounds so stupid and illogical. But no, clearly the Torah is very clear. And there's no dispensation for driving to school. Okay, so for shul and Shabbat. So I'm going to, boom, Lisa just changed the whole world. When Malka Rus is looking at her, 7-thing checklist, and maybe she's weakening on one of them, and she's just about to do something that was on the list. And then she thinks, oh my gosh, what did I say? I wanted to work on whatever it was, And she does it. What just happened? Boom. The pendulum of the world swung to good. That's how we're supposed to think. We have a enormous opportunity as Jews, especially people watching this. No one that's watching this is the biggest rabbi, and the biggest rabbis don't have social media. So clearly I know that if you're watching this, we're all growing. We're all, and yeah, social media can be great for stuff like this. Also going to start putting my lectures, just started my YouTube thing, so people are going to have to help me with that. I don't know how to get the word out there. I've only been on Facebook. The biggest rabbis in the world, they don't have computers, so they would never be able to see this lecture. So anyone that's watching this, we're not Vilna Gaons. I give amazing lectures, but I clearly know, what I am and what I'm not. The opportunities that we have to change the world are immense. For someone like Malka Rus to not even be Jewish, whatever it was, like 10 something years ago, 15, I can't remember, and then convert conservative, realize that's just pure garbage, means nothing, she's still not Jewish, and then converts to Judaism, and now is just trying to just fly. Putting in the effort. There's no righteous person that's born righteous. It's a lifelong battle and dedication. And, you can be born rich. You can be born good looking. You can't be born righteous. It's the effort that we put in. And there's one stumbling block, consistent stumbling block, the Yetzer Hara. The righteous person is the one that can continue to kick the Yetzer Hara, know it's going to come back in a different form, in a different way, and also change. What did I just say? The Yetzer Hara is adapting like AI? Well, so are the righteous. So are the righteous. That's life. If you don't know that you're fighting a war, you've already lost it. Why does Israel lose every war? Because we don't think that we're in a constant war. When all of our enemies around us tell us at all times that they want to destroy us, and we're like, the IDF high command says that Hamas will be deterred for another 5 years. We've already lost. When your enemy says it's going to destroy you, the Yetzer Hara has like a mission statement. It's infused in you when you're born with a like a letter that it delivers to you. Dear Eliakim, I am here to absolutely destroy your life and make you miserable every second of every day. Good luck, kid. The people that the Yetzer Hara is going to look like a hair. They open up that letter and, junk mail. Throw it in the trash. They never even take the time, which is why they never got past that first hair. The really righteous, the Rabbi Akivas, the Rabbi Meirs, the Abayas, our Rosh Yeshiva, the ones that seemingly hit the highest level that you can get. As a Jew, they realize, no, I'm one slip up away from falling off that mountain, like we said before. and they're vigilant, and they're changing, and they realize, wow, you know what? I'm doing great in this area. Now's the time I need to fortify myself even more, because there's no way that Yetzer Hara is going to let me, get to this level without crafting something. That scoundrel, that squatter inside of you. Wars are lost because of overconfidence, because of terrible strategy, because you don't even think you're in war. Everything that we've been seeing since the 6-Day War. We have not won one war. We beat the opponent, we let off the gas, then they come back. This is such a perfect analogy for the Yetzer Hara. And you'll never destroy it. You'll never destroy your Yetzer Hara. It will always come back at some point. Maybe it's dormant. Maybe you're at the top level and you're just flying and the Yetzer Hara says, you know what? I know where I can get him. Complacency. And the Yetzer Hara backs off and you're just flying, and then all of a sudden, boom. Yetzer Hara comes 3 months later and just beats you senseless. You don't know the methods of the Yetzer Hara. You can only do what you can do, and that is strengthening yourself and fortifying yourself. I'm a big World War II buff. Not many people, I don't think, know more about, unless they're took courses on or whatever. How did the Russians stop the Germans? The Russians were I think they were 17 miles from Moscow. They could literally see the golden domes of the Kremlin, right? Every single Muscovite would come out, and they built these just impenetrable tank barriers. They're still there to this day. They knew that if they lost this war, they were done. The Russians were the Germans were very, very open what they were going to do with the Russians, and they were literally going to make Moscow a lake. They were going to make it a huge, huge lake. They were going to destroy every last trace of Moscow. So the Russians knew this was a life or death battle. And every single one of them came out and they fortified the route to Moscow. And the Russians never got any closer than 17 miles per hour. And Hitler, as the war was being lost by the Germans, he said, we underestimated the tenacity of the Russians. Meaning, we thought that being proud Germans would spur us on. We don't have any clue what it was like for them to feel Russian. Okay? That's exactly what happened in World War II. Look it up. We need to do the same thing. We need to fortify ourselves. We need to constantly, even if there was a 0.001% chance the Germans would use this route, they fortified it to the point that it was impenetrable. And the Russians never, ever got closer to Moscow than what they did, I believe it was in November of 1941. It's a good life lesson. Hashem told us how to fortify ourselves through the Torah. If you're not engaging in Torah, you've already lost. You will never win. You will get to the next world. You will be shown a hair and you'll be eternally shamed. End of story. There is no way to become a perfect Jew without the Torah. It is an impossibility. There is not a single person in world history that was not Torah observant that perfected themselves and succeeded in life. They might have become a billionaire. They might have whatever. It's an impossibility. It has never in history happened that someone became righteous. And I'm talking not, oh man, he's such a good guy. It's not what I'm talking about. There's lots of nice people that are not righteous. Okay? There's lots of kind people that are not righteous. There's lots of people that you might even think are righteous, but they're not keeping Shabbos. So ask Hashem if he thinks that they're righteous. People. When you're watching this, it'll be after Tisha B'Av. We're now in a 7-week ascent with the 7 Haftorahs of consolation. They're all uplifting things about the end of times. That yes, Jewish people, things are bleak, But this is what's promised for the future. And it starts with nachmu, nachmu, consolation. I don't care who you are watching this. I don't care how many times you've failed, how many stupid averos that you've done. Get up, get back on the horse, dust yourself off, and start flying. Start realizing that you are in a war. And yeah, you might be on the losing end right now. But strengthen yourself and fortify yourself to the point where the Yetzer Hara says, oh, snap. Gosh, I never thought that Lisa was such a tiger. It was very easy to get her knocked off. Whoa, you go, girl. What have you been doing the last 7 weeks since Rosh Hashanah? I need to adapt. When you can make the Yetzer Hara start adapting, now you're really in a fight. Before it was he's just rolling over you like the Nazis into Poland. But then once you start fighting back, you start realizing, I'm at war. You start building the fortifications like the Russians did, in front of Moscow. Ooh, now the Yetzer Hara says, now I have a formidable opponent. And you know what? Nothing should make us more proud than the Yetzer Hara thinks that we're a formidable opponent. Because the Yetzer Hara is not wasting any time on losers. Okay? You want to be the one that the Yetzer Hara is. You hear it in your head talking to you, trying to spin, trying to manipulate. If you hear that in your head, if you're constantly battling yourself, it means that you're elevating yourself. It means you're just like Abai, just like Rabbi Meir, just like Rabbi Akiva. The more you feel the Yetzer Hara, the more you feel that pull, the more you just always feel drawn back, it means that the Yetzer Hara now feels that you're a formidable opponent. What could be better? What could be better? And let's end with this quote. Ben Zoma, Pirkei Avos 4:1. Who is mighty? Okay? Who's mighty? Who do we think are mighty in modern times? The best boxer, the best wrestler, captain of industry, the one that has the most power, the guy behind the guy that can manipulate the votes. No. Who is mighty? He who subdues his evil inclination. He who can conquer his Yetzer Hara. When the Yetzer Hara is trying to get you to watch 3 hours of Netflix and you say, no, Yetzer Hara, I want to watch the last 2 lectures that Eliakim did. No, Yetzer Hara, I'm going to go out and volunteer to, package things for needy people on Shabbos, so that they can have for Shabbos. Gosh, I really want to just take a nap now. No, you know what? I can sleep later. I'm going to get out this book that I got, like Lou just got. I'm going to get out my Mesilas Yesharim, and I'm going to just study the heck out of that. I'll sleep later. That's who's mighty. Who's not mighty? There's a famous quote that's, people think that Sun Tzu said it, but there's no record of that. An evil man will burn down his own, will burn his own nation to the ground just to rule over the ashes. And this is how we will end. This is one of my favorite non-Jewish quotes, probably my favorite. Why? An evil man, right? The one that succumbs to his Yetzer Hara. He will burn down his whole life to never, just so that he can think he's in control and in charge. And no one's going to tell me what to do. No rules and restrictions. I don't care what Hashem says. I'll do what I want at all times, and he will happily rule over the ashes of his own life. And he will get to the next world, and what will he see? A single strand of hair, a little anthill, and he'll realize he wasted his entire life. Don't be this person. Torah, tzedakah, tefillah, gemilas chasadim, these are all ways that we engage in the fight against the Yetzer Hara. But there's one in particular that stands above the rest, and that is the Torah. Because the Torah is teaching you the path to life. The Torah is basically being in one of those English gardens and knowing how to get through all the mazes. Why? Because inside that garden of your life, there's an enemy called the Yetzer Hara that is trying to destroy you and prevent you from getting to the other side of that garden, which is the Olam Haba, and trying to prevent you from seeing that insurmountable mountain at the end of your life and crying tears of joy that, oh my gosh, how could I have done it? I can't believe how much I achieved in my life. And that is what I'm wishing for everybody. If anyone wants to sponsor a lecture, if anyone just has a question, wants to talk Torah, can you just share this lecture? I mean, if you share this lecture, it's now an hour and 50 minutes. So we're at 110,000 mitzvahs, according to the Chafetz Chaim, for this lecture. If you share this on your wall and one person watches it, you've just gotten 110,000 mitzvahs. I mean, if you knew the price, the reward for even one single solitary mitzvah, you would understand why I'm making this like cringy face that, I mean, gosh, people don't waste such an easy opportunity. And I know that people are listening because I see that more and more people are sharing it. More and more people are sponsoring. This is a mitzvah train. This is the Torah train. Everybody just hop on board. I'm the conductor. I'm the one doing the lecture. I'm the one doing the research, but everyone can take part in it. Sponsor, share, tell a friend. We're doing something very important here for only one reason. Hashem put a truth into the world. That truth is the Torah. I don't care what your truth is. You don't need to care what my truth is. We need to only focus on what Hashem's truth is. And this is the only elixir, the only remedy for this scoundrel called the Yetzer Hara that is within all of us and waging war every second of every day. And it's time that we all start fighting back and conquering it. Wishing everybody a wonderful